Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast covering all things Ipswich Town Football Club since 2015. My name is Mikey Smith, and on a weekend where Town fans were introduced to a heavyweight boxing champion, I'm joined by two men who are just about fighting fit. It's David Dark Arts Diamond and Joe All Fairs in Love and Warfares. What a difference a week makes, gents.
Yeah, we were both here last week after that Cambridge game, weren't we? And it was not a happy pod, was it? Sunday evening, but like
it was a pretty critical.
Very different.
It was a pretty critical pod, I'd say, Sunday evening. But yeah, as Joe said, the whole situation looks a lot rosier at the moment. Definitely,
it does indeed. In all respects as well, because it's been a really uplifting week on and off the pitch, and there isn't even that much news to talk about. We haven't had any injuries or anything like that. It's just been good the whole way through, isn't it?
Oh no, you mean because I was for sort of pod prep. I was looking through the news earlier on. I thought there's not really much. Slim pickings really this week.
Jack
Manley signed a pro deal. I think.
So I've only made a note of that. Yeah, Joe. What about him? What's he? Again, I know of him, but bit of background to him.
Yeah, he's one that I know Paul Lambert rated very highly. He spoke about him a lot and gave him his debut in the Papa John's Trophy as still when he was a schoolboy, as an under 16. He came on for a few seconds at the end of the game there, but he's one that's very highly thought of at the club, and he turned 17 on Tuesday, and the new contract was announced on Thursday. So you'd imagine that as part of his scholarship, there was a pro deal.
3 years,
tied into it, yeah. So as part of his signing there, and I'm sure that was signed on his actual birthday on Tuesday and just announced on Thursday. But yeah, I suppose the other bit of news with the under-18s is that the Youth Cup tie, I think they're playing Wilmslow United, who are a step 4 team, step 5 team. Probably I think they're the lowest team left in the competition. We're playing their under-18s at Portman Road Thursday night.
I'm not even sure it's Wilmslow. I saw that and I thought, it's Wilmslow, and then I read it again, and it's a place I never even recognised.
It's Berkshire, isn't it? Somewhere around that way, Buckinghamshire.
Maybe it's just another Wilmslow. Obviously, Wilmslow's up near Manchester, Cheshire.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it's there.
It's not. Obviously not. No.
Like I say, you'd imagine that should be a fairly comfortable victory to go from the sort of Youth Cup semi-final against Liverpool last year. But because we're in Division 3 in old money, we have to go to the first round of the Youth Cup, and we've probably got one of the lowest ranked teams left in it.
Kind of seems familiar.
Lovely stuff. Now everyone's warmed up for the news. And Ipswich women were also in action this weekend before we get on to talking about the men. And I believe that both of you were there at the Gold Star ground in attendance for a game against Bridgwater.
Yeah, I've got to confess, my first time. Obviously, buoyed by the news that last week we did our very first pod sponsorship of a player, the left back, which he played left back today, Abby Lafayette, who Joe also turned out to be player of the match as well.
Yeah, no, she had a good game, and same for me. It was my first time down at the Gold Star ground watching the women, and no, really good setup. I know everyone said it before, really good setup. It's worth getting down there, but the big crowd stuff, I think it's 395, and I just caught the end of a video interviewing Eloise King, one of the players there, and Kieran, the media guy, said that's the highest attendance in the league this season. So not just Ipswich Town one, across the whole league there, which is really good. And it's a good crowd as well, isn't it? They sort of make a lot of noise when the ball gets into decent areas. And
they really do.
Admittedly, I had my boys with me who were sort of 5 and 2 playing football behind a fence. So busy, I wasn't watching the game as intently as I could do, and I was at probably the worst angle of the pitch to do it, to sort of keep one eye on them and one eye on the pitch. But no, it was a good game, a competitive game. They were a decent side, Bridgwater, and it felt a real test. And I think the players, you could see what it meant to them when Tash Thomas scored sort of a really, really good header corner in the sort of 90th minute. Comes across, she gets up highest and flicks it. It goes in off the sort of post right in the top corner, unsavable. And the reaction of the of the girls, when that goes in and then at the full-time whistle, you could tell this was a massive game for them and
I think
well worth going.
I think they were third, weren't they? Because I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's Southampton and Ipswich that are pretty much romping away at the top, and Bridgwater were a hell of a journey back to Somerset, isn't it? Bridgwater were third, and as Joe said, sort of big. I thought actually physically stronger than us, and we've got some quite big players, but I thought they were even physically stronger than us. But in typical sort of Felixstowe style, wind blowing straight down the pitch. Pitch was a bit lively. Well, that was a bit weird because it looked like it was taking a stud, but the ball was, a bit sort of lively and yeah, it was good, wasn't it? In swinging corner, and she got up brilliantly. She came in a sub as well, didn't she, Joan? Natasha Thomas, and
she scores a
got
lot
up
of headers, doesn't she?
Yeah, she brilliant,
that leap,
great leap, and
you.
just headed it off the far post. But yeah, you could, as Joe said, you could see what that win meant to them because it was a fairly tight game. I don't think they really created much, did they? But yeah, we probably I think we just about deserved it. So it was really good and nice to meet our. Abby Lafayette afterwards as well. It's good.
Yeah, it's good to see a few of the listeners down there. I think Paul Westlake had a quick chat to after the game, and I didn't catch the guy's name who I spoke to for the whole second half. He's a listener as well from Rotherham, so we had a good chat putting the world to rights in the second half as well.
Excellent, great stuff. Really adds to the feel good factor, doesn't it? And Natasha Thomas, who scored the winner, was in attendance on Saturday as well in the Royal Box, if you're going to call it that, at Portman Road. She was sat near Fabio Wardley. Only one other bit of news, and I think our listenership will probably be divided on whether this is newsworthy for an Ipswich Town podcast. But one Mick McCarthy was relieved of his duties after a 2-0 defeat against Neil Warnock's Middlesbrough on Saturday. Joe, do you take... What is your reaction to that? Because I'm pretty sure that we were all quite pleased for Mick when he was doing quite well at Cardiff initially last season, weren't we?
Yeah, no, I was pleased he went in there, sort of did a really good job last season and then got offered the extended contract, but things have just not gone well for him this year at all. So he's probably in a position where he needs to take stock maybe of what his managerial career is going to be from here on in. Is he someone that just gets jobs in January, February, keeps teams up, leaves them in the summer with a handsome pay packet and then moves on to the next one, sort of maybe make himself a sort of specialist in that side, because he clearly can pick teams up off the floor, get them motivated, get them organised and get them winning games. But I think it was probably a little bit similar to here, where you've got a owner who's not overly interested maybe, and the budgets are getting smaller and you're losing players. But like I say, the record, it's just, I think it's 8 games lost in a row, not even 8 games that win, 8 defeats in a row. So something had to change, but seems away at Cardiff. Neil Harris did the same. Warnock, they sort of all do okay to an extent, and then when it goes badly wrong, it just doesn't. They just can't seem to get them out of the tailspin without changing manager. But no, like I say, I'm sure Mick will go on and find another job somewhere. But hopefully for him, he manages to do it in a way that sort of keeps his stock at a decent level, because sort of getting sacked a couple of times isn't going to be the best thing for him.
It was the worst running. I think I read somewhere it's the worst 8 defeats on the spin. Probably not that surprising. It's the worst run in their entire history, I believe.
Blimey.
And obviously not held by a 3-0 spanking at Swansea last weekend, was it? That never, against your local rivals, that never sits well. So, yeah, he's very much in that, as Joe said, that Pulis type Allardyce. What's this guy, Red Adair role, isn't he? Come along and save us from relegation, but it's just taking that to the next level. Yeah,
you were linking in with the Norwich job yesterday in the pub, Dave. Do you remember that?
Yeah, we did. I don't know who brought that up. Yeah, when Norwich went 6-0 down. Yeah, we did sort of toss that one about, didn't we? I'd have thought unlikely.
Yep. Right.
Maybe Charlton, they've got a vacancy and he lives around the corner, doesn't he?
Good point.
Yeah, he's in Bromley, isn't he? Yeah.
He's in Bromley, yeah.
Cool. That would add a little bit of spice to our early December visit to the Valley, wouldn't it?
Can you imagine?
with the London Ipswich away crowd, as they're sometimes.
Oh my goodness me!
Yeah. Right, but in the present day, let's move to the Fleetwood game. Let's talk about that. And 20,000 fans. I mean, it was about 19,980 Ipswich fans were in attendance for the visit of Fleetwood, who was struggling a little bit, and that included Brett M. Johnson, as we look to claim our third straight home win of the season. People would say that it's only Fleetwood, but walking down to the ground, it did kind of have a big game feel about it, didn't it, gents?
Yeah, there's definitely a good feeling amongst the Ipswich fans at the moment, and there's that we're all sort of sitting there waiting for it to take off, aren't we, and go from there, because with the investment, the sort of change of manager, the signings that we've made, and just little things like all the flags going up down the players' car park, the back of the cobbled stand being tidied up. You walk around the ground and you feel like for the first time in a long time we're going in the right direction. And like I say, yeah, it's only Fleetwood. I know, without sounding disrespectful, but they're a team that brought 133 away fans to a fixture where we take 5 times that to a Papa John's game on a Tuesday night, effectively, and they're just not comparable as a club side to us. But we're in the third division because we deserve to be. They're in the third division because they deserve to be, and we've got to put them aside. But I just found it strange because I kept hearing this: "Oh, they're not a bad side. They've only lost 1 in 10." And I think, well, how can they be 20th in the league after 13 games of the season if they've only lost 1 game in 10? But they obviously, I don't know. But I thought they were a decent side to watch.
Mate,
I thought,
yeah,
really good. I thought the guy centre mid, that Mattetti, number 20.
Yeah, we'll definitely get on to him, Dave. There's a couple of questions. I think, Joe, you were a sort of a late addition to this show, weren't you? So you're actually on the other side sending questions in, and you said, "Shall we sign Matete?"
sparked debate.
Yeah, and here you are alongside Dave and I. What a whirlwind day for you. So let's talk through the teams. Ipswich unchanged, Dave, was not a massive surprise. I think maybe Burns might feel a little
we
bit
sort of said in the pub. We said in the pub potentially, because we met up on the ground before, and we said potentially maybe I'd have thought maybe Burns in for Edwards, but no great surprise when he went with the same, really, after the 4-0 thumping of Portsmouth.
And Coulson's back in training, isn't he, Joe?
Yeah, I think he's. Well, yeah, there's pictures of him training. He wasn't on the bench, but is it because Cook doesn't like to name that extra player on the bench? But I'm sure he'll be putting pressure on Matt Penny very soon.
Just to recap what the lineup was, it was Walton in goal, his first home start since Walton Gate, as it will be known. Donatien, Edmondson, Enciala, Penny, Evans and Morsey sitting in front, Aluko on the right, Edwards on the left, Chaplin playing in behind Bon. Just a little observation about this Fleetwood team. The entire 11 and the manager all English. It's possibly not the first time this season either. Did you say Brexit FC, Joe?
Yeah, I think Andy Pilling, their owner, was a big supporter of Brexit, so
no, I see.
That's why.
You weren't just chucking it out there then. Cairns is the goalkeeper for them. They had Andrew and Hill centre backs. McLaughlin was the right back. Clark was the left back. Then it was Biggins, probably looking forward to pantomime season, was in central midfield with...
He's behind you.
With Batty, who I'm told, or I've since learned, is no relation of David Batty, despite playing in the same position. I think he might even be from Leeds as well. Matete, who you mentioned, was the man in the middle. Johnson was wide right. Garner, but not Joe Garner, off the left. And Mawson, who wore his socks quite low, he reminded me of a younger Ollie McBurney, was playing centre forward. And that, I mean, when you look at those two sides for the game, and despite all of that good feeling, it's a must-win game, isn't it? Especially with Brett M. Johnson, there, it was an opportunity to really build some momentum.
It was a real big opportunity for us to put our best foot forward as a club yesterday, as a fan base, on the pitch, the management team, the CEO. Off the back of that 4-0 win at Portsmouth, which was a brilliant win midweek, you follow that up with a draw or a defeat sort of yesterday, and it becomes... all that momentum just gets sucked out of it there. And like I say, when you've got Brett Johnson there for the first time, and I'm sure Paul Cook, Mark Ashton are desperate to make a brilliant impression on him, just to sort of showing what they've been doing, and I say the crowd and there's a big crowd there, big expectations, and it really was an opportunity for us to put our best foot forward. And so often over the years, when it's been ticket promotions, big games, as a club we have failed to deliver TV games, local derbies. We just have not been good at winning the games where you want to put a big performance, and we just haven't put those in. So yesterday was an opportunity to put that right.
But they were decent. They were decent side. You just touched on it earlier, Joe. But I thought they were really well organised, as you'd have thought from a sort of Grayson side. Yeah, I was impressed. To be fair, first half I was impressed with them. They were no mugs, that's for sure. There's one or two really good players there.
Absolutely, and they were playing it out from the back as well.
Yeah, and easily playing it out well too. Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty even Stevens early on, but fresh from his brunch at Honey and Harvey, George Edmondson had the ball in the back of the net after a nice free kick from Evans, but it was ruled out for offside. I think there's a video from a Fleetwood vlogger doing the rounds on YouTube because he captured the, spoiler alert, the winner, and I think somebody has done a freeze frame of that goal because obviously the away fans would have been level with it. And it does look tight, but yeah, you never really know, do you?
Tell the reaction of the players, can't you?
Yeah, there wasn't any great reaction from the players. And to be fair, for once, the flag linesman's flag just by us, just straight away. It was
straight up, wasn't it? But a nice ball in from Evans all the same.
Yeah, great ball.
Chaplin was looking pretty lively from the off, and he put a lovely dink to the back post from Macaulay Bonner, who's obviously tried to head it back across the goalkeeper, but didn't quite get the direction on it, and the goalkeeper's managed to
you could tell he should have scored that, because he sort of when the keeper saves it, the first thing he does when he lands is look across to the linesman. I think in hope that the flag was up.
Good point. But he almost gets too much
over there.
He could have almost scuffed his header, and it might have crept in the far corner. But he makes reasonable contact. He just doesn't get enough.
I think maybe the goalkeeper hadn't quite committed to. Quite often when the goalkeeper's coming from that angle, they dive early, and I
think it was a cross. You said it was a brilliant cross, but it was a chip cross. There was no great pace. There was no great pace on the cross, so he had to generate all the. And Joe's right. He probably should have scored, but the keeper was well positioned.
He scored nearly every other chance he's had this season. So
I don't think it would be too critical. Wasn't a glaring one, was it? Not really.
No. Aluko, who's arguably the greatest number 23 since Michael Jordan, enjoyed a good start to the game. He had a little run down the right, but shot wide. He was looking quite lively early on. But I think it's fair to say, and this is the first time we'll talk about him, Matese and Fleetwood deserved to go in at the break level, didn't they? And that was one of the best individual performances I've seen from an opposition player.
He was
in
really
a long time.
He was really good. Yeah,
it was one of those where you sort of you see him do a couple of neat turns and intercepting the ball nicely, and then he catches your eye, and you start to actually follow him around a little bit, and he was just a class act, wasn't he?
Player. I've never come across him before, but very, very good. Yeah, very, very impressive, and certainly Mauldin held his own in there with Evans and Morsey. Maybe faded as the game went on a bit, I suppose, but first half he was outstanding.
He's only got about 25 senior games under his belt, and a lot of them were on loan at Paulhurst Grimsby last season.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's
How old is he, Joe?
20. He came through the academy at Reading and was released. Picked up by Fleetwood,
great spot.
Sent out on loan to Grimsby last year, but he was one. Yeah. He's out of contract this summer. It's like, just go out and sign him. He was a class act, and
he's
got a hell of a battle he had in there with Morsey. And
really good. And he didn't give an inch, did he? He did not give an inch either.
I just had a quick look on Twitter before, and there's the Town in 5 video where they look at yesterday's game, and at the full-time whistle it shows Morsey and him right next to each other as a full-time whistle goes, and someone's clipped it underneath the tweet, and when the full-time whistle goes, Morsey just turns and barks in his face right at the end of it. It's like, I think that's a real compliment to how much he played, that he got right under Morsey's skin all game. And I say Morsey is a good championship midfielder, let alone League One. And like I say, him and Matete had a hell of a battle. Like I say, he is one that go out and find a way to get him signed.
There was one you spot these players, don't you? There was one who was one I was big on, and I don't even know you didn't know what happened to him. The kid who was at Burton a few seasons ago.
Oh,
that came
the Man City kid.
Davenport.
I think he's at Blackburn. He's had a couple of injuries.
I think you're right. Maybe he got injured. He was out. He was a similar game. He was just absolutely bossed. The game was outstanding. You know, he's still a player like that catches your eye. And I did follow him, and I think you're right. He did go to Blackburn, but I may have been injured and stuff, but yeah, very sort of similar type performance. You know, when a player like that out of almost nowhere catches your eye. Yeah, outstanding play.
Very much so. And moving into the second half, and it actually looked to me like Chaplin had maybe been instructed during half time to press Matete himself when he was on the ball, and I think he did manage to dispossess him a couple of times, and he was a little bit more surrounded. Matete, I think he found it a little bit more hard, a little bit more difficult in the second half. But so it was So let me catch my read here a little bit. But yeah, Carl Edwards sort of blew hot and cold again, didn't he? A little bit, and earlier on in the second half, he did have a decent effort that was saved. We've got a question on him later, but he just wasn't quite getting by his man as easy as he was at the start of the season.
I think he did. That was the only time he really got that ball in that position, and he did. He squared his man up. It was a hell of a save. All right, you could say perhaps he didn't get it right in the corner, but as a big, strong hand that keeper, really big, strong hand that keeper got to that. And 9 times out of 10, that ball would have, though you see those ones, you get part of it and it just deflects in the roof of the net or something. And that was a bit unlucky. That didn't then come out directly to Evans, who was virtually point blank there, but it just didn't. It was a hell of a save. But
his weaker foot, the amount of power he generates in that shot was unbelievable.
But he just didn't. That was the only time I really felt he got that ball in that position and was able to isolate the fullback. When he does, it's like that. It's just easy because he obviously can go both ways, left and right. But last couple of games, I don't say he's been on it. He just hasn't been in it, not on it, in it really. He just hasn't been, got in those. Well, he had perhaps got in those positions, but just hasn't received the ball. But
I think the competition for places is so high at that top end of the pitch that when you get your chance, you've got to take it. You look at Sonny Aluko; he's come in, played 2 games, scored 3 goals, and
he was great.
Where Wes Burns had been brilliant before that, but you can't just come in and have a so-so game because it's not good enough, and that's what we want. Like Chaplin's been brilliant the last few games. Selena wants to play that role. Selena comes on, scores again, and it's like, well, he's now going to want to try and push for that role. But no, that is what you want. These players just pushing and pushing against each other, and like I say, you haven't got time to find your feet in the team and try and get a run in the side. If you don't come in flying, you're going to be dropped.
Yeah, a luxury of riches. Burns came on for Aluko for the last half an hour. I think Aluko had a facial injury, but to me it looked like he was potentially going to be coming off anywhere unless he took a bang elsewhere as well. And Selena came on for Edwards, either side of a decent save from Walton from a batty free kick. He then made another save soon after from Jed Garner, and we're still looking for another goal ourselves. Burns has a couple of half chances, but misses the target with both. One that he sort of blazes over and one that he sort of slices a little bit into the side net. And did you think that one was in, Dave?
Burns one, from where I was, everybody was up. Everybody was up, of course. But I suppose we should mention the Chaplin goal, which was just outstanding. I thought, Joe, outstanding finish. What a goal.
Just one touch. Used his body to open it up.
Brilliant work from me there that I've managed to skip past the opening goal of the game and one of the best goals that we've seen at Portman Road for some time.
It was just outstanding. I mean, the square ball from Morsey was good because he didn't just lay it and he pinged it into him. And the first touch, Joe, was just bloody outstanding, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a good 5 or 6 passes even in the build-up to Morsey.
Yeah,
we were really probing at that point, weren't we?
He just got it out of his feet, and the finish. The keeper just didn't move, did he? I think, to be fair, the keeper is probably unsighted because he hit it so early, didn't he?
Yeah,
what a finish!
It really took. I mean, it's taken me by surprise here as well, but it really took me surprise at the time. I couldn't work out how he'd scored. It was like just he took a touch and then bang, it was in. And I thought I must have taken a deflection or something to wrong foot the keeper, but it didn't. Did it? It reminded me a little bit. But this was a better goal. Was Marcus Stewart's goal on his home debut against Huddersfield?
That's a good spot. Yeah, good. Very
one touch and bang with the left foot. This one was from further out, Obviously, that was a clutch goal from Stuart, wasn't it? It was like a late
Huddersfield,
winner,
remember that? Remember that? Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Actually, thinking about it, very similar. But this was just a class finish. I'm not Stuart. All Stuarts were, no doubt, but this one was brilliant.
He's in a brilliant bit of form, Chaplin.
Yeah, Joe's right. He's playing at the top of his form, and I'd say he's, for the time being, he's cemented that role now. Surely.
I put a note earlier today in the WhatsApp about Gary Roberts talking about him after the game, and he just said that sort of the number 10 in our team is the toughest position on the pitch. You've got to create, you've got to score, you've got to look after the deep line midfielder. So it's a lot of work. Connor will sleep well tonight. And you've got to remember that Gary Roberts is someone who's played that 10 in a Paul Cook team. He knows exactly what that role entails. And you've got to be busy and you've got to make things happen when you get the ball. And Chaplin is coming to his own the last few games.
He said a bit more, didn't he? Also said he's quite like an infectious character around the club, in and around the club as well, isn't he? So,
Yeah, well, like I say, you see with him being named trustee that we spoke about last week.
So he's obviously well thought of.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that side of Chaplin's game in a few minutes. But so I'd been working up towards Fleetwood's equaliser, despite not talking about the Ipswich winner, the Ipswich opener even. But yeah, it was in the 82nd minute, and it just sort of took the wind out of our sails a little bit, didn't it? It looked like it was going to be, just a classic Ipswich, where off the back of a big result, a big crowd, the new owners in town. But to their credit, Joe, a pretty classy goal, wasn't it? And maybe not from a defensive standpoint, but a well-taken goal from Fleetwood.
Yeah, it looked a foul in the build-up. I thought there was a foul in the build-up that didn't get given, and it sort of all came from there around the halfway line. And then, but by the time it gets there, sort of the ball in is good. And I thought Morton, who I thought was good all day, to be honest, I thought he gave Edmondson Enciala a really tough game, and I don't think he's particularly old either. I think he was a decent player, and he sort of came across and scored
really quick.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where they're all the defence are appealing for offside, but it's not. It's just he's just timing his run well. He's just drifted off the shoulder of Donatian and just coming back round him there. And brave header as well, because Walton's coming there and he clatters into him and he scores it. It's brave, sort of real brave as a striker to score that goal. And I thought his all-round performance deserved it. But I think it was very different from the equalised we've conceded in previous games, where we've got deeper and deeper, and you think it's coming, it's going to be coming soon. When's the goal going to come? It didn't feel like that. It just felt like a team getting a bit of luck on a sort of 50-50 decision in the middle of the pitch, and then breaking well and scoring a good goal.
From then on, it was good play, because obviously right in front, and the guy does really well because he crosses it from quite a strange angle. He doesn't immediately get, I think Lane it was, wide right. He doesn't immediately get out his feet. He takes another touch and almost narrows down the angle. Then he pings it in, and you're almost thinking, "Oh, it's offside, or that's a keeper." But I don't think Walton's to blame there. It's a really good ball. Donatian, perhaps a bit ball watching.
Yeah, Donatian was ball watching, but but Donatian's so close to the goalkeeper there. He's probably thinking that anything that gets over
ball. It's
the
almost
right
a perfect. The ball can only go there, really. The ball can only go there, and Joe's right. He was pretty brave. He gets absolutely battered by Walton, but
it was a substitute, wasn't it?
But it goes in, and it's almost that around the ground. It's almost here we go. But then I suppose, then to be fair, I think the crowd raised it again.
I thought it was an Irish Beatles tribute act when he came on Paddy Lane. But...
yeah. Surprised Garner Jay didn't come on.
Yeah, was he on the bench? I didn't know.
Oh, I mean, he wasn't. I thought he was. Wasn't he? Was he?
I've got a team sheet there. I'll have a look.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at two
Garners.
I saw
he was. He spent much of his afternoon chatting to Selena. Also, they played together a few years ago.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, I was wondering whether he was going to come on, but in fairness, they managed to work that.
Yeah, without that,
with that goal without them, and Fleetwood then did retreat, didn't they? Because they were thinking, "Oh, this is our point."
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be sat here saying this had we not managed to score, but I was actually quite impressed that Cook didn't just then bring on Pigott up front and put an extra striker on. We continued to try and break through like we had been the whole game, which seemed to largely revolve around Evans getting on the ball in the middle and just sort of trying to pick the passes out wide, and then trying to work through that way. I thought at times he was maybe overplaying that switch over to Penny. I think the Fleetwood right back started to read that.
Before the goal, there was a couple, wasn't there? And it was ones where we were sort of too far advanced for that ball. That it wasn't a diagonal ball; it was just a straight ball. And unless even if the ball's perfect and is over their fullback, Penny's, it's almost impossible for him to do anything with it. And it's just there's a couple of groans when he played those balls, but obviously he was just getting his eye in and getting his range sorted.
He was getting his eye in, and what was he getting his eye in for Dave? Go on, talk us through it.
I mean, he receives it, I think, from Penny again in field, and sort of turns away, gets out of his feet, and I thought he'd overhit it at first. I thought, oh no, he's overhit it. The touch here I didn't appreciate how good the touch is from Danasi in here, because he doesn't just put it in an air. I thought, that's quite a good touch. He sort of side foot volleyed that back in. He cushions it. It's a great bit of skill. You look like the thing he means. And I don't think he's looking to pick out Selena. He's just looking to put that in an area, and it's such a good bit of skill because the ball is dropping, and as you say, you almost cushion volleys it like a feather, like a little lob wedge, wasn't it? Like a little feather. And Selena, who literally 2 minutes before I sat with Jordan, my son, he saw him yesterday, and I said, Selena's really disappointing. You know what? And I almost got to the point. Why have we got him? Was he? And well, there you go. I mean, absolutely on the spot, sort of walk-like finish from years back. You know, just absolutely on the spot and thrashes it in, and cue absolute mayhem. And Cook doing a 40-yard dash. Well, you must have seen it up the touchline right in front of us. You know, giving it that fantastic. I mean, and then you look across to the director's box, and they're absolutely going ape in there, aren't they? It's fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
They were indeed. And just on Cook, when he did finally compose himself, he did turn round to the owner and gave it one of these. And
big result.
It did feel like felt like a huge moment, that, Joe, didn't it? I know that we have scored some late goals this season already, but it just, I mean, I'm repeating myself now, but it felt like a really big moment.
Yeah, and it felt like we deserved it as a fan base as well. I know, so we've put up with a lot as a fan base, and we've stayed with the team through it. And even yesterday, we conceded that equaliser in 82 minutes. Well, the fans did not stop from that point onwards. They stayed with the team, and they carried the team with it through to that result at the end of the game. And it was not one. Bearing in mind the amount of points we've dropped at home, especially at the early season, we go back to 1-1, and it could easily have just sucked the life out of the team, sucked the life out of the stadium, and those two things sort of combined to just let the game see out. But no, the fans were brilliant, stayed with the team, sort of 20,000 there again, and got what we deserved effectively as a fan base, I think.
You made a good point, Mikey, because it would have been easy for him just at that stage to throw on Piggott and go completely route one. And stayed sort of true to sort of principles, I guess, and ultimately got its reward. But yeah, those scenes have been few and far between. Because where you have scored late goals, they've pretty much been equalisers, haven't they? Really, Sheffield Wednesday, So no, that's fantastic. And you're right. You can see even in the pub beforehand, you could just see the good feeling about it all now. And, everybody's up where I don't go down that often pre-match, but when I have been down there before in recent seasons, it's been, what do you think today? I might scrape a win, or I mean, it's all very, very sort of low key, fairly negative. But yeah, everybody's just buying into it. But yeah, it's great to see.
Indeed it was. Just before we move on to the questions, this is one of those games where I think people have different opinions on who was man of the match, so I'd be interested to hear your opinions on that. Dave looks confused, so I'll go to you first, Joe.
I've thought sort of between sort of Lee Evans and Sam Morty as a midfield too. I thought they really had to work hard to win the battle, to get on top of the battle, to give us that platform to play on in the second half. And the first half was relatively even. There was very few chances. It was a bit dull, really, to be perfectly honest. Very few chances, but that was because it was a real tough battle in there. And I think they just sort of slowly ground them down and just got on top of that midfield battle, and that just gave us that platform to play from.
Yeah. I thought Edmondson played well again. Left centre back. I thought, because he said that that Morton was a bit of a lively, bit of a handful. I thought, and Enciala as well. Put bodies on the line again. There was that really well, if you remember, that really well taken, well rehearsed free kick in the first half. Yeah, they were almost in on it. Bodies on the line again. Enciala there was a couple of times where challenge on the edge of the box and it's a free kick and it's reasonably dangerous. You think, but I thought he did. I thought, Edmondson was good again, but Joe's probably right. Yeah, Evans or Morsey again.
And I guess if you include that midfield, I suppose you've got to include Connor Chaplin as well, who was doing
he was going to be the other name that I was going to throw in.
Midfield three and scored a goal, but I think between Evans, Morsey, and Chaplin, that's just such a
take it as read.
When they're playing well, like I say, Evans has been up and down with his form this year. I think Chaplin's sort of
Morsey's
fit and fly, and Morsey's key. But I think if Evans can play as he has against Portsmouth, and again as he played last night, then that midfield three or sort of two with the one in front is sort of better than anything in this division, isn't it?
Yeah, streets ahead.
Time for some questions from our listeners. Right, and David GW met us in the Greyhound. He says, your colleague Ben Bloom stated at the beginning of the season that he would play Chaplin at 10 every week. With such competition, I was doubtful, says David. How good is he in relation to others competing for the shirt?
On the evidence of recent weeks, he's obviously very much in possession of the shirt, and for the foreseeable, because not only is he's creating, but he's scoring goals, isn't he? He's got a goal in him. He's got a great eye for goal. Works hard, as obviously, and a good character as well. So, I think Ben probably had that nailed on. Look, next two games be interesting to see. If we're still talking about these players in the same sort of tones after the next two games, then we're really onto something. I think.
I think there's you're going to have to find somewhere for Selena in this team, aren't you?
You would think,
and I think you're going to end up Selena on the left, Chaplin in the middle, and Burns/Aluko on the right, with your Edwardses, your Frasers just filling in.
Yeah. Which is a brilliant position to be in. And we will get injuries. It looks like we're doing better on that front at the moment, touch wood.
I don't think... I know
it's 3-game weeks where you want to... And we've got the squad where you can rest players. The problem is when you're resting... Like Burns got rested at Portsmouth, and Aluko comes in and scores twice. Rest at Cambridge. Aluko comes in and scores twice, and then he keeps his shirt for the next game and scores again. And
in all my years of supporting Town, in all my years, I've never known a squad to have pretty much two players that can, two players for each position or something. In this case, maybe two or even three players
without
for
a
each
big
position.
drop-off.
Without exactly right. I've never known it. Never.
Yeah, in a lot of the good old days, Mickey Stockwell was having to cover most of those positions, wasn't he?
Well, it must be a Mick thing, because Mick Mills used to do it in the sort of 70s.
And
then Stockwell became the one that covered everyone.
Full-backs, midfield.
Well, I think it went from Mick Mills to Steve McCall to Mickey Stockwell. They were the three players that just covered every position. That took us for about 25 years.
You're right. Yeah, I haven't known anything like it. Incredible.
Brilliant. Alex O'Hare wants your thoughts on Edwards. I sort of preluded this question earlier on. He says he has good feet but made zero contributions so far. No goals, no assists. Created nothing today apart from the one shot. Burns did much more in much less time again. Is he perhaps been a little bit harsh on Edwards there, Joe?
Although
the stat sheet doesn't lie, as they say.
No, but I think he has...
You've got
to remember when Kyle Edwards gets a ball, he has two men on him the whole game. So maybe he might not get the assist, but he drags people out of position just because he's so good on the ball. Like in the first half, a short corner goes to him and he's one-on-one with a defender. And it's just like, well, there's no point the defender even being there because he's just going to walk past him. And he puts a cross too high.
Whipped it over.
You cannot leave Kyle Edwards one-on-one because he's too good. He's too good to be left one-on-one with any defender in this division because he just walks past them. So his presence allows people to have more space. So I wouldn't sort of worry too much about the stats and that. But that's not to say he's been better than Wes Burns. I think Wes Burns has been brilliant as well, and I think he's a really key player and probably the signing that's probably impressed me the most, sort of coming in from the lowest base, in that he was a player that's only really played in this league at the smaller club in this league. He was sort of 150 grand. He wasn't a big fee. And then when you see Fraser's coming in for nearly $1 million, Chaplin's coming in for nearly $1 million, Aluko's coming in with a load of experience from above, obviously Selena, Burns doesn't seem to fit in with that, but he's done as much as anyone, so it's not to criticise him.
And also quite a useful 10-pin bowler, isn't he, Joe? Mikey?
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, so yeah, I was lucky enough to be back in Suffolk this week, off work.
To be fair, it sounds like you were stalking Ipswich Town players.
Well, it may have actually been the other way around, Dave, because I was attempting bowling first on
I'm sure it was
Thursday night, and then in Honey and Harvey on Saturday morning, where Piggott and Edmondson came for breakfast, and then unfortunately, Tom Carroll was still there when I left, which told its own story.
Do you know, you mentioned Tom Carroll when you mentioned that yesterday on a WhatsApp? You mentioned Tom Carroll. I've forgotten all about him.
Yeah,
I just forgot about him.
I was watching one of the club videos, and they started talking about TC, and I was thinking, "Who's TC?"
I know.
Not doing a famous finishing session, is he again?
Well, he is available.
I'm sure he is.
Doesn't look like we need him at the moment.
The classic, I think the classic. Do you know, we spoke about I don't know if there's a big question about this. We spoke about Natasha Thomas was in the director's box and stuff yesterday. The classic Peter Reid, after the winning goal.
Yeah, it's an incredible picture, that one, isn't it? Because you can see it seems to some of the people it's the ball's already in the net, but to others it looks like Evans is just clipping the ball. It looks like
he was perhaps a double agent and he was actually working for Fleetwood.
Never has the song "Cheer Up, Peter Reid" been more relevant.
Incredible, wasn't it? That's brilliant. Oh dear.
Right, Patrick Palmer, he's kind of echoing what we've been saying throughout. Feels like a huge psychological moment, a last-minute winner, bounce back from surrendering a lead, back-to-back wins. Not a great performance, but again stepped it up in the second half in terms of chances made. A big season moment.
Well, fingers crossed it is, because, like I say, we go to Plymouth next Saturday and Wickham the Tuesday after. They're two tough games away from home. Two teams, I think, with almost perfect home records up till now. So, like I say, if you can come away with anything, sort of 4 points from those, I think you'd be absolutely delighted if you could get anything like that from there. It's two teams that are sort of flying up the table with brilliant home records, and the problem is with the start we've had, we've left ourselves sort of a long way behind the 8 ball, and each game is massive until you get to the position where you feel like you should be in, which I think if we're in the top 6, it's not a massive deal if you lose a game, if you drop from 4th to 5th or stay in 4th there, but until we get ourselves into that position rather than being 13th and 10th, things will be a big deal. And I say, but those teams won't want to be facing us. They're not going to be sitting there thinking, oh, they'll be all right, Ipswich will roll over when they come here. They'll be dreading playing us as much as our fans are dreading playing them.
We're scoring 2 goals, more than 2 goals a game. I mean, it's some serious firepower there. Serious firepower. Back to the days of was it when we first got relegated? Marshall and Matthew, wasn't it? It was scoring bloody for fun. I think we might have been record. Well, we're not top scorers in like the Football League that season, or just about. I'm sure we were. We conceded if we scored 79, but we conceded it might be like this season 69 or something ridiculous, didn't we?
Yeah, and like I said, I just had to check. When you look at the next games, Plymouth away, they've played 8 at home, won 5 and drawn 3, and then Wickham away, who have played 6 at home and won 6. So going to be tough games. But I saw some stats from Chris Rand earlier on the goals, and at Portman Road. So at home, we are the team in the country that scored the most home goals in the league, and we are the team that's conceded the most home goals in the league. So if you want your entertainment, Portman Road is the place to get it.
Yeah.
I'm sure we all had the DVD called the Entertainers from the.
One.
Was it the 2003-4?
Might have even been a VHS.
I think it was Chris Bart Williams, Alan Martin. Yeah, get it. Yeah, it's good, wasn't it?
Happy days. John Abbott is looking even further ahead than the next 2, Joe. He says that our next 5 league games are Plymouth away, Wickham away, Oxford at home, Sunderland away, which I know Dave's looking forward to. I'm not sure how much of the game Dave will be able to remember after that one, and then Rotherham at home to complete those 5 games. But as you say, Joe, they're not going to be looking forward to playing us. But John's question is, what would you consider a good points return from those 5 games?
I think we've got ourselves in a position which was not quite there, but my minimum expectation, sort of for the first sort of half of the season or so, was to get at least 1.5 points per game. So. We're at 14 games and we've got 20 points. We're basically there. So how many? So was that the next 5 games he's talking about?
That's the next 5, yeah.
So you want to be at least sort of 20 24, 25 points from there. So no, sorry,
No,
you
want
need to
another
be
8,
up
don't
to
you?
sort of about 28, 29 points from there. So my maths let me down there. So you need 8 or 9 points from those 5 games just to keep yourself in the mix at all. But
Yeah.
so we're going along. I said we had a terrible start the first 6 games with just 3 points, and it's sort of 2.1 points per game since then. So we just got to make sure we keep up that form, because we are going to have a few games blip. You can't. You're going to struggle to roll along at the sort of rate we're going at the moment, but it's just making sure that you don't lose games to those teams around you. You don't lose back-to-back games to teams above you in the table, because then that gap just gets bigger and bigger. Like I say, we could probably win the next 6 games, and we probably wouldn't be that close to the top 2. If you know what I mean, we're 10 points off there. We could pick up 18 points from there, and they're probably going to pick up 12, 13. So we're still going to be a way off.
Right, Thomas Ebeling, considering the calibre of upcoming opposition in those next 5 league games, based on current form, will Cook's style of play help or hinder us, Dave?
That's a strange question, because you got. I mean, I think the key, not style of form as such. I think the key thing, and Joe mentioned earlier, is momentum. Real key. That goal yesterday could be a big turning point, but a big moment in our season. Given these next few games coming up, particularly the next 2, you've still got that momentum. You've still got that positive vibe going into these 2 games. I don't think. What would you say? You'd keep the same side, wouldn't you? So. And keeping the same style. Clearly, he's not going to suddenly pitch in Piggott and go 2 up front, is he? Why is he going to do that? He's not. So I don't see the style changing at all. And we're scoring goals, we're conceding less. Why would you change the style going into these games?
Yeah.
We've got the players that can take.
I think he's kind of suggesting that our kind of attacking will score more than you style. Will that help or hinder us in these games against?
I see what you mean. So Cook saying, I will score more. We should be. Look, the players we've got, the squad we've got, we should be good enough to go to these teams playing the same way.
I don't think our attitude is we'll score more goals. I think that's just a side effect of how we've played at times. I don't think we're going out there just to blitz teams to score, because we don't create masses and masses of chances, do we? We don't. No. Like I say, how many saves yesterday did the keeper make for
very little?
Sort of Fleetwood. I can't
remember. A couple.
And how many did Christian Walton make? 1 or 2 again.
Yeah.
They're they're quite low margin games, but we've obviously got good finishers, because we've got good players at this level who score the chances when we get them. But
and we're playing 4 attackers.
Yeah,
well,
the problem we've just had this year is we just concede. We concede too many of our chances, and I don't think. I think people point the finger at the goalkeepers, and I don't think it's really just that. Maybe the chances we concede are too good for it, so they're sort of high percentage chances, but. I don't know. I think the fear that we had before the last couple of games is we go to these teams, the Rotherhams, Wickhams, we're too open, they score a goal, and then they just shut the game down and we don't create anything. And I think that could happen. But I think that was what was most positive about the Portsmouth performance on Tuesday. I sat here on the pod last week saying, look, we can't just fly out of the blocks against them. We've got to try and get on top of the game and then score when we're on top of the game, not just go for it from the start. And I know Harness had the decent chance, but it felt like that first half was a real scrap, just trying to get on top of it. And I felt the same yesterday. We had a real scrap in midfield. We got on top of the game, and then at that point we tried to play. So we tried to play from a solid base rather than just trying to play when we weren't quite ready to do so.
Right, time for a question from Mullet, who's on half term. We finally got back-to-back wins, a turning point for everyone, or a mark of the failure this season thus far?
Both.
Go on, Dave.
I've got to say, it's a bit of both, isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, perhaps that the early season struggles is why it did feel extra sweet yesterday.
It's just frustrating that early part of the season that we just picked up so few points, isn't it? 3 points from 6 games, and
4 more.
If that was 7 from 6 games, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah. And just finally on the questions, Chris Rand says 3 years ago at this stage, Luton had 2 points more than we do now, and they went on to win the title by 3 points. but that's 2 wins out of every 3 matches required for the next
that-
30. The equivalent form of a 100-point season.
Yeah,
Could we possibly do that? Maybe ask us in 5 games, Chris, and it'll be a
Yeah.
much easier, probably.
They went on an
and
absolute.
I don't think anyone's expecting us to, but we
ridiculous
can,
run.
can't we? We've got
Yeah.
the players to win games, but yeah, you're talking about picking up 13 points out of every 18 there, aren't you, to get to that sort of level? And that is a huge
I'm not
ask.
sure. Perhaps the league, but thinking back 2 or 3 seasons, I'm not sure that it was the strongest league that season either. Because you've got, as you say, you've got these teams that are pretty much flying at the top. Your Plymouths, your Wigans, your Rotherham, Sunderland until yesterday. So yeah, I'm not sure that league season.
We've got to be in that.
Teams.
I said we've left ourselves a hell of a lot of work to do, being so far behind Plymouth, Wigan, Sunderland, and Wickham and Wigan up there as well. And we just got to make sure we just carry on the form we get in there. And if we can roll along at 2 points a game for the next 10 games or so, we're going to be right up there. But we've just, I'd say, the playoffs are the realistic. Like I say, if you get automatic promotion from here, you've had an unbelievable season. I know people saying, "Oh, we're only 10 points off it now," but it's like 10 points is a lot to claw back against good teams, isn't it?
You'd have had a Burley-like run, that season. What not was it when we signed Johnson at 20 or where it was 22, 23 games? I mean, you honestly,
97, 98.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah.
Scored some goals that season as well, didn't we? Right, into the other results, and Wigan continued their fine start to the season with a 2-0 win at AFC Wimbledon. Portsmouth recovered from their drubbing the other night with a 2-2 draw at Accrington.
Late goal.
Yeah, I think there was a late goal for Bolton at home to Gillingham as well. That was another Desmond. Bolton maybe not quite ripping it up as much as some
unbelievably,
people thought.
their captain this week left them to sign for Stockport County in the National
Really?
League. Yeah,
wow.
There's a lot of money in that National League at the moment.
There is
Washington, Wrexham, and it seems wow.
Strange, but yeah, good for him. Oxford won 3-1 away at Burton. Oxford sort of just quietly going about it again, aren't they? They
always seem to, don't they?
Yeah. Donny, a rare win for them. They beat Cheltenham 3-2. Rotherham, this is maybe the result of the weekend, winning 3-0 away at Milton Keynes. I think that's a real statement of intent. We were obviously very impressed by Milton Keynes early this season. Plymouth, probably a decent point away at Morecambe. Sheffield Wednesday, the draw specialist, 1-1 again at home to Lincoln. Shrewsbury beat Cambridge 4-1. Charlton, under Johnny Jackson, their caretaker manager, won 1-0 away at Sunderland. And Wickham, as they always seem to, scored an injury time winner again.
I mean, that was like deep. That was like 90. I mean, ours was like 90 plus 3. That was like 90 plus 7, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you're probably back in the pub by the time that one went in, Dave.
I think I was.
They probably only had 7 minutes because Wickham had time wasted so much for the first.
Ooh.
We're not looking forward to watching a game against them next Tuesday.
Are you going, Joe?
No, I couldn't put myself through that.
No, never pretty, that is it? But it's effective for them.
It is indeed. So that leaves the league table with Plymouth at the top on 30 points from 15 games. So they've got that 2 points per game nailed on. Wickham have got a game in hand though, and they're level on 30 points. Then it's Wigan, Sunderland and Wigan have both got 2 games in hand on Plymouth. Not that games in hand guarantees you anything. Then it's Rotherham and Oxford. Then Milton Keynes have dropped now to 7th. They're on 22 points, same as Burton. Can't believe Burton is still flying high. I suppose they've won a couple of games recently. Then it's Sheffield Wednesday now just 1 point ahead of us in 9th. And then, Bolton have now dropped to 12th after 4 games without a win. On 19 points. So we're
top 10
up there in the top 10.
Crashed the top 10.
Yeah. So a week on the training ground now. What do you think we'll be working on going down to Plymouth?
Well, Ryan Lowe's very good friends with Paul Cook, isn't he? So they are. I think they follow Liverpool around Europe together, those two. So you sort of see pictures of them out on the beers together. So hopefully they'll be able to.
Hopefully, they watched them today. Or,
Yeah, they'll both be having a few beers tonight. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Is there anything either of you want to plug?
Yeah, I've got a shout. A chap came up to me in the Greyhound yesterday. Very nice guy called John Moran, and said, "Could I give a shout out to his friend? It's incredible, Malcolm Brewer, who's been a supporter since like he's in his 80s. This guy, he's been a supporter since like the late 50s, and he's been a steward at the club." Incredibly, since 1967, like 54 years, he's been stewarding at the club, and he also since 1990 apparently does stewarding at Cole U as well when the town are away. I mean, what a man! And he hasn't been in the best. I think he had a bad back injury, and this was always going to be his last season, but he had a bad back injury, I think, at the start of the season. So now he still does the stewarding. I think he does the maybe director's car park or something like that. And he now has to have a sort of like sit in a deck chair or something like that to do it. And this is his last season. So I said certainly worth a shout for his sort of length of service and devotion to Ipswich Town. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it?
Brilliant.
Absolutely incredible. Yeah.
Hopefully,
I suppose my shout out was the other end of the sort of stages of life. The Youth Cup game on Thursday, I mentioned at the start, but that's at Portman Road, and I'm sure Mr. Brewer will be down there stewarding on Thursday evening to help out there.
I thought so.
People that are young enough to be his great grandchildren.
Do you know what? When you look at it and you think, oh no, well it's my age, but 1967, you think, Christ, that's 54 years ago. Amazing, incredible service. And I think, according to John, he's hoping to get in contact from the club to see if he can get some recognition for his service come the end of the season, which I think would be more than well deserved.
Definitely, yeah. Excellent. Cheers for that, Dave. And yeah, thanks both. It's just nice, isn't it, to do a podcast after not one but two wins.
That was great today. I really enjoyed it today. I say I'll definitely be popping down there again. I think it's brilliant.
Excellent. We'll be back with a midweek show, possibly a Q&A during the week, and then it's the flagship show next week. I believe that Craig Fimbo is travelling down to Plymouth for that one.
I think so.
Sampling the local delights. All those savoury pastries, Dave. They couldn't quite tempt you down there.
Ginsters, no. Like I said, my next away trip's which I'm really looking forward to, is going to be a sort of weekend in, up in Sunderland. So I believe staying in Durham on the
Let's
sort
take
of
your
Friday.
oil money up there with you this time now, Dave.
Sorry.
Might have to take your oil money up there with you. Might not be able to get a hotel.
That's true. So really, really looking forward to that one. Never been to Stadium of Light before, so that'll be an experience. Looking forward to that. Always, there'll be a good atmosphere, won't it? Bound to be.
Excellent. Right. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. And the final word from me is, don't leave before the final whistle.